Dunbarton Select Board meeting to order. All three selectmen are present, town administrator, and, Leo Martell is here videotaping for the general public. And Linda Nickerson will upload that on the town website and YouTube. Okay, I've got some, old business of previous meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the 7 PM regular minutes of October 28th as amended.
Second.
Okay, Mike's made the motion, Bob seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I should've asked you any discussion beforehand.
It's okay, there was no discussion.
Nothing, alright.
Mike was busy signing it, no.
Here you are, Mike. Okay. Public comment, Leo?
Nope.
Okay, nobody else in public, we'll go to town business. I'll make a motion per RSA 31:95-E to accept 58 flags,
It should be cart.
store cart with cover from the Reese Cross Dunbarton LLC. And flag sponsors from Dunbarton, valued at $4,000. As a board, I'd like to thank Don for all his hard work getting these flags, and, they're mounted in town now. They look absolutely beautiful. Lean said we've already got a lot of good comments about it, and, looking for a second on that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Yeah, we were letting you finish talk.
Okay. Sorry about that. Any more discussion on it? Motion been made and seconded?
No, only that, I think if they look at how the other towns do it, now I noticed that Litchfield and Hudson had taken their flags down, cause they weren't up last weekend.
Yeah.
They'll probably be up this weekend, so they probably do it for that period of time. Don was, when he was kept thinking,
Right.
well, we'll keep it up till that time, and then the next date, they probably take them down sometime after Labor Day, and then they go back up. I've always driven it, and I always see them every weekend, but
I won't
That's probably
speak
a
for
good
Don, but
idea.
I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm thinking he was thinking that the board wanted the ability to tell him to put them up or take them down, and I think that your suggestion's good, Bob, cause they can leave them up for a period of time, people can appreciate
because
it.
they end up, there's more damage in people handling them
Right.
than there is being out in the weather.
Yeah,
And where are they gonna be stored?
I don't know that, I have some additional thoughts for later in the night, if you remind me on storage, Mike.
Okay.
Cause there's a lot of stuff over in the library that's gonna need to find a new home for storage, I think eventually, so. So yeah, I'd like to talk about that a little later. Okay, do you wanna, take the opportunity to go over the MS, 424?
We didn't vote on it.
You didn't vote on that. You got, second
Oh,
discussion.
that was for the discussion, Bob, do we wanna do that tonight?
No,
No, to approve the acceptance of the flags.
The accepting
Oh,
of
I
flags, you haven't voted
apologize.
yet. You got a
Motion
first
been
and a
made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's going on past that one. All right, now down to the revised revenues.
okay. So the board, each one of you have a copy of the MS 434, and I brought this up at last Thursday's meeting, saying that I had an appointment with the Department of Revenue, and the 434 is the revised estimated revenue. And they typically, they only change it unless the town really sees a real drop in, budgeted anticipated revenue. I've seldom seen anything change on the town level, but when it comes to setting the tax rate, when there's additional revenues that come in from, meals and rooms, highway block, flood control, any of those items that are, controlled by the state level, they will include those dollar amounts in the tax rate setting, so they become, the new revised,
Now,
total.
Are you saying they'll automatically decrease or increase?
Well, they have to include the new number that they get from the state, so,
Right.
so you see the decrease flood control, we budgeted 70,000, but we actually only received 68,776, so they reduced it at the level of the tax rate setting.
Okay.
Whereas the other three items in that category, we received an additional 80,259 for rooms and meals, Our highway block was, set at 90,000, we received an additional 10,680. And then with the state land and forest and the flood control, there's a slight adjustments there. So the state adjusted revenues that we use to set the tax rate is on the last page 3, and that is what they use.
Lean, just before the, before we go too far, just so the public knows, can you explain who they is?
Oh, the Department of Revenue.
Okay, and so when these additional pieces are applied, is it the DRA that's doing that?
Well, it's federal money or state grant money,
Yeah.
and the Department of Revenue will get that number from them, and then they will apply it to our source of revenues for tax rate setting.
And is that the way we've always done it? For some reason, I thought we, as selectmen, applied that last year.
Nope.
They
That's
always did that, okay.
Right, yep.
I'd like to make a comment that I'm glad that
Go
the
ahead.
state came through with the, we didn't get a dip in.
Yeah,
It was good summer, I guess.
no, that is awesome. Okay, go ahead and finish your last page, Lean.
Okay, so, there were not many changes in the other areas. As I said before, the town typically sets the estimated revenues for the account lines within our budget. And then the Board of Selectmen, sets the overlay amount. So with that, that gets carried into the tax rate breakdown, and that's after she reviews and collects the data from the county, the local school, the state education. She gets all those numbers, and she will plug that information along with the tax effort for our values that will generate revenue for taxes, and then she can determine the tax rate.
So the 297,354 is what we voted on.
That was for, the Article 4, which is, the operating budget.
Yeah. Okay.
And you can see how the change amount, on the last page, when the auditor completed the 535, which is our financial statement, he had the 935,769, and what you have to keep in mind is, this is ending, our financials was for ending 2020, December 2020, yet we, in March of 2021, we voted to use some of that money, so he, at that point, the 935 included the 297, but then we spent some of that down.
At the, town meeting.
Yep.
And so it's 638,415.
Is our unassigned fund balance retained. Yep.
I remember we talked last week, it was around 640 or something we talked about
Yep.
roughly.
And then if you look at the tax rate breakdown that you all have a copy of, municipal rate went up about 25 cents, county rate went down about 10 cents, or it went down 10 cents, local school education went up 92 cents, and the state education went up 6 cents. That's comparing 2020 tax rate to 2021.
And that, is how many cents higher than last year's tax rate?
$1.13. It's on your summary sheet that you have there, Dave.
So in like overall $1.13, where our portion we thought was 19 cents at least.
We
Remember?
went up approximately 6% and 5% total for the tax rate for this
Right.
year. We have a 5% increase in tax.
I don't think it's that bad considering what the school had
Right,
in their budget last year, cause,
even with the school numbers, originally they had said that their budget would increase their, local school by $1.70, but they were able to return an additional $200,000 to the taxpaying, because they can't retain that, the municipal town side is the only, portion that retains funds, so they returned an additional 200,000, which helped reduce some of that, offset as well. And then on the back page, it shows, the current guidelines that the Department of Revenue asks the board to keep under advisement when you start to use your surplus. And the current amount retained is at 5.91, and if we were to maintain the minimum recommended, it would be 540,488, so we're in a good position right now for meeting their guidelines, recommendations.
Okay, well, thanks for getting that all together.
It's,
Lean, may I point out that some of that money retained is not all retained money, in a sense that it's, some of it's in the, capital reserve funds, etc.
well, the way that is shown.
Is that separated from that amount of money?
It looked like they were pulled out already.
They were pulled out.
Okay.
Because the 535 showed the encumbered liability of monies in a
Okay.
separate line.
Okay, good, I just wanna make sure that,
Yep.
so that's a legitimate, good number.
It is,
Yeah, that had been the case other years, I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yep,
it's good to have a legitimate, good number.
Right,
that's right, yeah, and the auditors have been really good about educating us and then explaining why it's important to keep things.
and that'll change a little bit to the end of the year as well, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Additional revenues coming in, so.
yeah, and that's when the new financial for the year 2021 becomes part of the tax rate revenue, setting for the
And
following.
as we get additional revenues, we can plan towards this for the next year.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for that update, Lean, that was,
Okay.
a lot of work getting it together, but I think it's well worth having the update.
So, the board had not brought up any type of budget preliminary discussion, but I wanted to put it on the agenda for the sake of, in the month of November, there are 2 Thursdays that the board is not meeting because of holidays, so I think it's important that you guys think about, a few of the items that we typically discuss.
Yeah, and then we'll also get a little schedule, having a couple of departments come in each time we.
That's right, once you give me the guidelines of what you want me to send to them for, budget, then we'll get the ball rolling, because my report's already ready to go, I'm just waiting to get, a memo out to go with their worksheets.
Do you want an open discussion tonight?
I'd like to open that tonight, we have time, Mike, and I'd like to follow through with the same discussion you'd used on other years, Mike, having a, level services if we could.
I would, caution the level of services across all departments.
I think if we go to them with level services and we'll see what they bring to us.
I agree, it's a good starting point.
Yeah. What are your thoughts
Yeah,
on that?
I
Bob?
agree with you, level services and see what they bring us and see why
Yeah,
they're bringing that. You know, if that means that that's what they need, to have level services, I mean,
right,
so we'll probably have to do, or not.
and I'll be working on some things, for the town hall that I'll bring back to the board too, after I get them further in the year into the negotiations as part of our budget, Mike.
Okay.
So I'll present them to the board and try and see what we have for numbers there as well. So Lean, you okay, following up with that letter that we had?
I will, but part of a piece that they will need is to know what the, if there's going to be a CPI this year, cost of living raise, whatever.
It'll be a negative CPI this year.
I
Only
think,
because they have to use.
No, I think
the-
we may have come to a consensus.
Okay.
I think we're gonna go to that right next on our agenda here, Lean, if you,
It's not,
Okay.
I thought it was minus, no, I'm only joking.
Do you
Little bit of
want-
humor.
So I was proactive in reviewing our, payroll lines,
bring it
and
on
I
up.
put together a report that basically shows a 2% increase, 3% increase, 4% and 5%. Just to cover all bases so that we could move forward with, a recommendation to the departments.
This second page is the total budget, right down here.
Correct. Total budget, is in the far left column, 2% would be second column, and it goes up through 5%.
So, at a 3%, we're looking at 29,381,
Correct.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
It almost looks like it's for every percent, it's $10,000 approximately.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
even,
Did you include all elected officials here, Lean?
Yes, I did, anything that's payroll related. I did make a few adjustments in the police department based on the changes, the projected changes, and the overlap of, the chief for a month. So there
Okay.
are some things that I've made some changes to, just in that category.
highway department's in there too, I see, okay. After reviewing the information Bob gave us last week, and seeing that last year we went to 2%, the town voted an additional percent at town meeting, it's my recommendation, that we go to 3% and stay at the 3% this year. I'd like to hear from the other board members to see what their thoughts are on it.
You know, like I told you, I did go back online just to see where we're coming. And you're not gonna see it go into a 4% increase. It's hovering just below the high 3% rate, 3.8, 3.9, so I don't have a problem with 3%, like I told you. Probably makes more sense. You're not gonna see the last number of the year till March, so.
And I reviewed the information, you have given us the current stuff,
Right.
and it was hovering right around 3 right now, so.
Right, cause in that, if you read that paragraph up above, even though it has the rates on the bottom, it tells you that it's right around 2.6%.
Yeah,
So, using 3% would probably be a good analogy.
well, and I think it'll save us from going to the voters and, at 2%, having Lean do the work twice. It's a lot of paperwork for her additionally, what are your thoughts, Mike?
I think, I like the fact we still round, we're rounding up, I like that. I think, usually it paints doom and gloom, but it's not really substantiated by the documentation that we've been reviewing.
Right,
And so I think 3% is a fair start.
I think we're in a lucky state that, has a lot of job opportunities here, and
And you're probably gonna see numbers changing in the next several months, only because now when you go into Dunkin' Donuts, they went from hiring at 18 to hiring at 15, and, McDonald's went from 15 to 13. They get a new sign up that now they're paying 13, so, I think you're gonna find places that we're able to fulfill staffing. We're able, you know, with that incentive,
yeah.
those people probably aren't gonna leave, they're gonna keep working there, you know?
Okay, it looks like there's consensus across the board to, set that rate at 3%,
Okay.
if the other board members are in agreement to that.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for getting this thing laid out, Lean, that really helps. I think we had done that for the first time last year, and that really gives you a good number to work with. Okay,
Just that, we are gonna include all elected officials, or are we gonna readdress that at all?
no, I think we're gonna include them like we did last year, cause we got several that are bound by what the town has in there. I wanna make sure that Jeff's included in that, so,
Okay, just double checking.
that's the end of what we have on our schedule here, I guess I'll go into mailbox items, and then, I'll bring it back to the board members to bring up a couple other items. Okay, we have a traffic survey here from the Dunbarton Police Department. They were getting some complaints in the Gorham Pond area. So they did a little survey and did some, speed radars down there, and, I'll just read you the, top speeds at the different times that were there. 26 miles per hour, the average was 15. Top speed on the next day was 41, average of 34. The next time they went out, the top speed was 27, average of 19. The very next time they went out, top speed of 22, average of 17, and the last time was 26 for a top speed and 19 for an average. Total vehicles observed was just under 100, it was 99 cars, and the total time dedicated was 3 hours and 40 minutes. So if anybody wants to read this, we'll have it available up at the town, but,
That was sent to one of the concerned residents, in that area, and so he got, I think the town responded to him in a timely manner.
yeah, I think this is one of the most complete surveys I've seen as far as the, going out to check a certain area and giving feedback.
Chris is very thorough.
I was amazed at how low the speeds were in the,
Well,
they were checking.
I was pleasantly surprised
I
how
know.
low they were.
So, it's good to have at least this feedback, I know it's just a shot in time, but,
I think he'll continue to monitor, and I'll make that as a recommendation as we go forward, next time I chat with Sergeant Romero.
okay. We get an email from Kendra Bell, COAS advisors for the update to the new Gopher program, which provides support for purchasing of safety emergency equipment as needed as a result of it, or a response to health crisis. Grant period open on October 29th, 2021. Application period closes on June 3rd, 2022. Equipment must be received by December 31st, 2022. I haven't had a chance to read this yet through.
I can forward it to you if you like.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
I would also like to have, who's been applying for these Gopher grants up until now? That was Sergeant Romero for equipment, he was looking at them.
This one sounds like it's more on the fire department level, and I plan on sending it to John, make sure, they usually discuss it at their, mutual aid meetings, but.
I like to just have the board informed of who's taking the lead on this, as far as making the application for them.
Okay.
And, I have no problem with either the police department or the fire department, and I'll open up to my fellow members.
No, I think that's a good idea, and the town's match on this is 10%.
Yeah, it's a pretty reasonable match.
That's a very reasonable match.
It'd be nice to utilize that if we can.
So forward it to fire and police?
I'd say we could too, and just, in the email, ask them to talk with each other and see if,
Who would be willing to take the lead?
yeah, or if they wanna split it, or if they wanna go with just one item.
Okay.
Be nice if we get the new car they blew up. Okay. We have a press release from Don Larson, regarding Veterans Day ceremony and dedication of the 58 American flags to the town. Don, you weren't here earlier, but the board commended you on, getting those accepted, and we accepted those flags and the amount valued at about $4,000 earlier, right when we first started the meeting, but, you went, above and beyond. Those flags look beautiful out there on the main road, and, this press release is top notch as well, so you did an #1 job on this, and the board recognizes that.
And many town residents have already commented on it positively.
I was on the community page, there was like 116 likes and 40 comments, so
Nice.
I think it's done good, and my fundraising letters should be hitting your door tomorrow or Saturday, so, you know. There's an envelope in there. But now, the flags look good, the phone company did an excellent job, I didn't think they'd get them all up. You know, they put the mounts up on Monday and all the flags were up, I got a call from the chief saying he liked the flags, I says, they're up.
Yeah, I came through town after going to the dump down Blue Mansion Road, and I think I didn't believe they were up yet either.
Yeah.
Looks good.
But people are feeling good about it, so that's good.
Yeah, that looks good. I think it's been something that's been needed for a long time, you know, when you go through the other towns. I always thought it looked real nice, and I've never thought about getting it done in our town, so take our hats off to you
Thank you,
for getting it done.
Ditto.
and we'll see you on Thursday, you and Bob, right?
I'll be there Thursday, yeah.
Okay, it looks like we have a notice here from Primex on a second rate reduction. It's the original report of payroll for 2020, include a one-time payment of COVID-19 stipends. With the federal reimbursements of funds, Primex was required to reduce the reporting wages to exclude the stipend and hazard pay. A reduction of 12.2%, Lean?
Which is an additional, what, $1,200?
Yeah.
And that's already been entered into my new budget worksheet, so. Working on that.
Actually, it's 25.62, right?
All total, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good news.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We have a vehicle that went to St. Jean's auction, and the, result was we got $720 back to the town for that vehicle.
Was that the police vehicle?
I can't believe we got
I'm gonna,
$720 out of that
the
car.
heart's going, it's gonna give out here, I don't believe that.
That's the car that doesn't stop giving.
Who's gonna stop now?
The old Crown Vic, 720, somebody loved that baby.
Sold as is.
They love the smell of the tobacco.
They got the smoke smell forever. Okay, I think the board's already all read this, we had an email from the transfer station, manager there, about a former employee, that had been seen in his, transfer station. And, Lean and I talked about it, we think, you know, the person, if the trash comes from Dunbarton, might have some rights to be dropping it off there, so.
Yeah, and we don't know all the circumstances
We
in that.
let-
When I read the email, you know, we don't know all the circumstances. You can only assume things, but you don't know if there's reconciliation, you don't know the whole story of what's going on that part, and it may have been trash from that residence, so.
Yeah, so I, you know, leave it to, Chris to follow up on it if he wants to. Like you said, I don't think we wanna get in the middle of that at this point.
And I also commend the transfer station manager, how he handled it, very low key.
I did see an email the town administrator sent out as well, for, so noted, Mike. And, we have that second invoice for $1,200, and I seen Lean sent out another, information email to Woody to try and give us a breakdown of what he doesn't think we should pay for, so that we can either pay part or all of this invoice and get it out of the
This
way.
is for the truck.
Yeah. I mean, some of those things, the little rusty mounting bolts and stuff, I don't know is we're ever gonna settle that, so. We'll see what Woody gives us back for an explanation and just make a determination and. You know, we may cut our losses and just never do business with them again as far as the transfer station, although the highway truck, they did a great job for us, so. We do have to remember that the highway truck and all of the functioning body on that came from them as well, so
Yeah.
we're probably not done dealing with
See
them.
Pete going by with it pretty often.
Likewise.
He's enjoying it.
We need to sign a, employee pay raise here for,
Cameron LePage.
There's actually two copies there, if you can sign both, one for the,
It's just that it's the first time, it's the first time entry into the system.
correct, it's just kind of been lingering in the box, oversight.
yeah, I didn't even see it in there. There you
And
go,
he's,
Mike.
I saw him this week, he's doing very well at the transfer station.
Have we had any more people apply? Lean at all that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
Two signatures.
I'm seeing, that Ben Wilson's picking up hours there. He was
I
there
did, I saw him
Wednesday.
there as well, yeah.
Wednesday, he was there all day, answered the phone in the morning, so.
Well, that's, if he's coming in on a Wednesday, that means it must be slowing down, so that's good news for us. I think.
11-4, right? 21.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna bring it back to public comment, nothing, anything going else?
I'd just like to say that J&J is gonna finish up putting, they finally got the last of the cobblestones, delivered, or will be delivered Saturday, and I'll have them installed. And then on Monday, Roger Weiss and myself are gonna put the benches, in place, they're sitting there on a pallet right now, so.
Oh, great,
Is Roger Rice on the,
Right across the street.
No, is he on the cemetery trustees?
Huh?
Is he a trustee yet?
No, he's a trustee watching. Every time somebody pulls in there, he calls me or he shoots me a text.
I was gonna say, just, you need to influence him for a
Yeah.
future.
He's actually on the, trustee of the trust funds,
Okay.
for at least a year, I
But
think.
it sounds like a potential recruiter.
Yes.
Recruitment.
He's fully retired now
There you
too,
go.
so
get
he
him on as an
qualifies.
alternate, right?
But he's got a new Kubota with the forks and so we can.
He just wants to play, it sounds like.
Yeah, he loves his Kubota.
Thank you.
Nate, anything from you?
Sure. I'd like to make a request, if I could, for, some more information regarding the road agent position.
Yeah. Lee could probably help you with that, you get job requirements for the road agent.
Yeah, what exactly are you looking for? It's an elected position, and the term goes for a period of 3 years.
No, it would be more than that. Maybe some, invoicing, going back several years, and, requirements, so on and so
If
forth.
that's the
And
case,
anything pertinent that I would need to know if I were to be elected for that position.
that would fall under the right to know request, so if you wanted to put something in writing, then I can assign someone to do the research for you and pull that information out. As long as there aren't copies made, there's no charge for it, so we'd have to talk about what it is that you're looking for,
So you'd like me to fill out a right to know?
correct? That would
Hey,
be
Lean,
best.
one other thing, is there a job description like some of the other jobs?
No.
There isn't,
No.
okay. Some jobs, Nate, we have a job description like down at the transfer station,
Well,
and I didn't know if that was,
that's why I sort of lean towards the invoicing and billing in regards to how much work that is,
yeah,
and again, what the requirements are of an elected
you know,
official.
you might be able to round out your right to know request, you could ask in a general for a specific year, and you might have those numbers right off of our paperwork, instead of trying to do it monthly and breaking it down that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a little bit easier if you stop in the office and kind of give me more of a generalized, or more specific request, and then we can do that for you.
And in order for them to devote their time to it, Nate, they have to have a right to know request, so she'll help you develop. And, it could just be jotted down on a piece of paper, doesn't have to be
Yeah,
on
I have
a
the
fancy.
forms here, Joe
Yeah,
Marie can help
I've
you
seen
as
the
well.
forms online, I'm familiar with it, I can fill one out,
Okay,
Okay,
and, I'll make it specific,
whatever you
and again, it would be for anything pertinent to that position.
I think the easiest response to that would be to generate a detail of expenses. Detail of expenses would give you the information of what goes through the different accounts.
And the requirements of that elected position, but I'll talk, I can write it down if you
Yeah,
like.
yeah, I think it would be easiest, that way I wouldn't misunderstand what it is you're looking for.
some jobs in
No
town
problem.
we may not have even, done a detailed description of the job involvement, I mean, Si was there for 25 years, his dad was there for 25 years, and I think
And
Jeff-
Jan was there,
Jan was there for, what, 3 or 5 years?
oh, a little more, probably 8 or 9.
So there may not be a decent job description there, we might
There
have to
is-
develop one.
I just know that under the RSA, he reports to the selectmen.
Yeah.
He's an elected person, but he does have someone that oversees his work.
How long do you think a right to know would, how long do you think it would take?
Depending on what you ask. I'll respond and be able to tell within 5 days of that information, and what it's gonna involve. If it's just 1 year, it's pretty quick, but if it's multiple years, we purge our files after 4 years, audit plus 1 year. So it would have to be more recent stuff.
Let's finish this one up and then I'll grab you.
Yeah, like I said, I think that I would like to have more information on that position,
Okay,
so regarding billing and requirements and pay.
yeah, we can do
It's
that,
all there.
and his equipment's all broken down on his bills too, so.
Yeah, it is. It's,
Okay,
I think
thank you.
Yep.
Thanks. Don, you had something else?
Well, I was just thinking, you have that report for everything, expenses for each year.
Mm-hmm,
That would be a good place to start, and then he could expand from there and
mm-hmm.
the areas that he's interested in.
Yep, that's why I was asked him to put it in writing, but if you come into the office, we can just, with a little bit of guidance from you, I can get, kind of pinpoint what it is you're looking for.
Okay, and you raised your hand too? No, you're good, alright. Alright, that's public comment, I'm gonna bring it to the town administrator now.
All right, I do have, a memo that I've generated, and, I wanted to share it with the board. Earlier today, I held a meeting with the office staff here. It was a very positive, meeting. I'd like to read the letter to you, because there were some concerns that were brought to my attention. And rather than not bring it up verbatim, I just wanna make sure that I bring it up to the board as what their concerns are. So, we held a department meeting today to allow open discussion for areas of concern from the employees. The subject of the air quality came up because this has been brought up in the past without any direct resolution. Last week, 3 different employees pointed out a noticeably strong odor independent of each other. During our discussion, the employees felt that this rose to the top of the list of concerns because of the amount of time that we spend within the building. This discussion also brought up the building age, the lack of space and privacy. On Tuesday this week, the fire chief and myself inspected the basement for water to see if there were any other possible reasons for the odor. The sump pump appeared to be working with minimal moisture visible on the basement floor. This also brought up concerns of the age of the building and the poor condition of the basement, which could be a direct result of possible mold that can impact air quality for those working daily. In order to conserve on energy, past boards had designed plexiglass inserts to cover all the large windows in the building. Therefore, because of their size and weight, we are limited to 4 windows within the building to allow proper airflow when needed. As the town continues to grow, along with the need of the healthy staff, I ask that the board add the town offices to the top of the list of priorities to ensure a healthy environment for the employees managing the town's affairs. This was something that was asked by my fellow coworkers, and they really were, when I shared this memo to them, they were all very happy to see that something was put in writing so that the board could get a better understanding of how and where we are and how we feel. Everyone's trying to work along side by side with each other in the departments. It's been a really good atmosphere. I don't wanna see anybody get sick or have issues with what might be happening or what might not be happening and how to move forward or manage that. So I told them I would bring it to the board.
Lean had mentioned this when I was in earlier, signing today, and we kind of quickly talked about maybe getting an air quality test. I don't know if that's something that is often done or how it's done, to be honest with you.
There's companies out there which can actually make an assessment for mold.
Right.
And the thing is, it's been a wet summer, that could be a real concern in this building.
Well, I'd like to address it more as just air quality overall instead of just towards mold, but
But I think that's gotta be included in the air
yeah,
quality.
I think it will be, right? It's standard, I would think.
Not all the time,
No,
no.
So you have to specify,
Yeah,
but I think that,
air quality and to include mold, a mold evaluation.
I'd like to just, if we can get, quotes from a couple different companies, Lean,
mhm.
and then we'll make a decision on, after looking at the cost of them to start addressing the issue. And, maybe nothing to do with mold, it may just be a situation where you've got enough people breathing in this building where an air handler needs to be in here to move some of the air through the building, so. We'll, once we pick a company and we get a report back from them, we can start making some decisions on what it looks like.
So the board's okay if I look into this, getting an air quality testing?
I think at least the testing portion of it, that
That
way
would-
we'll know what it is, and, if need be, if it seems like it's too high, we'll try and put something in our budget.
I don't wanna have to wait 2 weeks, so should we give it what's a reasonable amount of money we'd wanna put out? I mean, I want her to be
I
able to
don't
make the
even know where.
I like to have her make a reasonable decision, if it's under $500 for evaluation, I like to have her have the ability to make that decision.
Well, we had an asbestos test done and that was like 3,000, so I don't wanna
Okay.
hold my
I think
breath.
we'll wait the 2 weeks and get
Yeah.
that number.
All right.
I think we still have enough time to
Okay, I was
get
hoping to get more than one number.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
You had something,
Can I
Nate?
speak to that?
Yeah,
I think an air quality test is gonna cost more than $1,000.
Thank you.
okay,
Yeah. Thank you.
all right.
Alright.
So yeah, I think let's get some numbers back and we'll start with that process, and I don't think this is anything that's gonna be able to happen overnight, but we'll
No,
make
but-
progress on
yeah.
it for sure.
And this was a very humid summer, a lot of rain, mold is, I think, a real possibility.
Right,
And we're not here enough to really
No.
When you're there full-time, it's a little different.
No, and we do have old building, I mean, the town hall is old as well, and it, you know, there's dirt sections of that floor as well, and there is underneath here, so it doesn't hurt to check.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
I'm sure that
anything else you wanted to?
the staff will thank you. I did have one question where we were working on, budget. Did the board want to decide on, any type of, employee, appreciation like we did in the past? In past years, we did a small.
I was gonna bring that up under mine, but we can do it right now.
It's up to you.
We did kind of money for turkey or Thanksgiving money last year, and we also did Christmas. I don't think we need to decide on Christmas now, but I'd like to try and do the Thanksgiving one like we did last year, if you guys are in
It's-
consensus to that.
It's only 2 weeks away.
I don't see a problem.
Do you have the dollar amount rounded out, Lean, or?
Well, what I did is I, created a abbreviated employee list of active employees,
Yeah,
and,
do you remember the dollar amount we did last year?
last year, the board had voted to exclude elected officials, and that brought us to a total employee of 22.
Does that include
This year, and then second round was 23 employees. From what I can tell from this report, if you go from number one, takes you down to 27. Then I put the elected officials followed by the volunteer firefighters, so if the board chooses to go the same as last year, we're looking at approximately 27,
100?
active, 27 people, active, or employees. If we include elected officials, then we should add an additional 10. So we're at 37. And if
Dollar
you,
amount we did,
25 last year, I've got both of
so
them
it's
here.
675.
Yeah,
And one, if the board chooses to go this route, it should be a valid motion rather than a consensus. Also, it would be easier if the board mentioned up to, so that in the event I find that I missed one, I'm not
Yeah.
going over and above what
So
the
it's
board.
675 or 925, if we include elected officials. Last year we did,
I have a problem with, I don't mind the employees.
okay, well, I have no problem going with this
You
regular as
choose,
well.
when you're elected, you choose to throw yourself in a fire, let's face it, right?
Yeah, my only problem is, you know, you have Jeff in there and.
You know, well,
but
again,
You're right,
he is elected
Yeah.
and you choose, it's a choice you make.
yeah,
you know?
and he's aware of that choice as well, so. I'll make a motion that we do a $25 holiday
Thanksgiving.
card. For all of the full and part-time employees excluding the elected officials.
Second,
Discussion before we go to the vote. 26, 27, they're lined up. Why is that, Lean?
They're more of a casual position. I don't know if you wanna include them. I have actually 1, 2, 3, 4 there that are really casual where they.
Where are the other ones laying?
Number 15 is only summer employee. Number 19, fills in when we call them, to fill in at the transfer station a few times a year. And then, number 27 only worked 1 shift, this past year. And then number 26 did the same, only worked 1 shift for some kind of a training, in that department. So,
I like to make it regular part-time employees.
what defines the regular? Is the.
I don't think, she
summer-
wrote casual, but we don't have anything that defines anybody as a
I know.
casual.
Right,
But
Oh.
like number 19, for example, without mentioning names here,
I know,
I mean,
I know,
I have an issue with that,
all 4 that she said, I think are good,
to be stricken.
I think so.
I would concur. Bob, what are your thoughts?
I don't have a problem, you know, if there's not a whole lot of time invested, you're rewarding someone that hasn't spent much time doing anything, and it kinda detracts from
The
the
people
people
working
that
every day,
really are here
yeah, that's what I'm thinking
most
too.
days of the week, you know?
Yeah, I'm looking here, yeah, and then we hit elected officials down the bottom, so.
So 15, 19, and 26 and 27 strike.
Yeah,
Am I missing anything else?
we're doing all the secretaries too, recording secretaries, right?
Yeah, they do hold meetings, one of them gets paid annually, one stipend, but she's here for every meeting during the course of the year for that board. And same goes with the other recording secretary, if there is a need for recording of the zoning, then she's there.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay,
We're gonna make a vote on it.
Well, we
We're
already
in
made,
the discussion now, so we need to.
as part of the discussion, I'd like to amend it to exempt the number 15, 19, 26, and 27 off of the part-time employee list.
I'll second the amendment.
Motion been made and seconded.
You have to vote on the amendment first.
Yes, yeah, I'm gonna vote the amendment, I already did.
I second.
I second the amendment.
Right, you have to vote on the amendment
Right,
first.
you call for the vote on the amendment.
Everybody in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion's been made and seconded, and the amended motion is here, everybody wants to vote on that?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right,
okay. Thank you for that. You also making some-
Leo, you didn't get the turkey.
Well, I don't know, I'm gonna check my mail.
Okay, anything else, Lynn?
No, I think that is it for me, did you wanna talk about your meeting today that you had?
I was gonna, as part of
Okay,
mine,
make
yeah.
sure you don't forget, okay.
Okay, so mine is the, meeting today and then storage. Mike, I'll bring it to you first. and then-
Okay, this is to my fellow selectmen, I have problems with the town giving PPE to 501Cs. Non-town, they're not really town organizations, and we get PPE for town, for elections, for police, for fire. The thing is, we should not be giving out to the public en masse, and that's what's happened this week, and it did not go by the entire board, it was done by one board member, so I think, I don't wanna retract it, but I think from here on out, any town property to be given away, it's gotta be done by the entire board.
Okay, you're talking about the, face masks,
The PPE, that was for the hay rides, I'll leave it at that. I
Okay.
think that was inappropriate use of town property,
all right,
and I'm looking for a consensus from the board on that.
I'm in agreement with that.
Yeah, this is the first time I hear of it, but, it's, I keep saying this and I reiterate, it should come before the board, and that way, you might not agree, and I might not agree, or I might agree and you might not agree, but we make that decision as three people,
Yep.
not one person.
Well, how that came about is I was at a meeting, for the Dunbarton Town Hall Recreation Committee, not Recreation Committee,
Restoration.
Restoration Committee. And, they're having a hayride, a fundraiser for that, and they were talking about going out and purchasing out of their 501C, the face mask, and I said, hey, I know we have a pile of leftovers nobody's using. I said, contact Linda Peters, I said, I know we had huge boxes of them left over from voting. And I know next year, if we still have COVID around, they're gonna give us more boxes of it, so. They're of no use to us now, so.
But, once we open the door for one, how can you say no to 4-H or any other organization?
And you know, sometimes I forget, they are a 501C, cause they have independent funds,
Right.
but they are really a outfit trying to take care of
But
better
again,
something
it
for the
takes a
town.
decision of three, not one.
Yeah. Okay, so noted,
Okay, I have one more item.
yeah,
The thing is, I expressed a little displeasure about the library hours and the absurd requirements being requested of vaccinated people on use of the library and the reduced staff, the reduced accessibility of the library. I'd like to have, the board, at least a representative of the library trustees come in and chat with us.
Okay,
That sounds good.
so 2 weeks from today?
Yep.
That's not a bad idea.
Okay, because, I'm hearing complaints, and the thing is, I expressed displeasure last week, and the thing is, it's one thing to vent it in here, but I think we should have some communication.
Yeah,
And that's all I have for tonight.
that's a good idea. Okay, so that'll happen in the following one. Bob, bring it to you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna bring anything up tonight.
Okay.
There's been enough dissension here.
I had a couple of meetings this week. The first meeting was I met with all of the companies that were bidding on the sprinkler system for the town hall. We had, I think, 6 people show up. 2, 3, 1 called in advance and said that they weren't gonna be able to bid on it because of the time frame. And 3 that showed up said, with the time frame of not only bidding it, but also doing the job, said that they were gonna have to withdraw. So I think we have either 3 or 4 bids coming in. There was some good interest walking through, and it was well worthwhile to spell out what we were trying to do with the building. Something I learned too, cause we spoke about how we're sprinkling the second floor and the first floor, for the aesthetics of the building, and then, I also learned that it is the entire envelope of that building, and I didn't realize it from the guy's proposal, but they are sprinkling the attic and the basement, because you have to do the whole entire building as an envelope. So, one of them, I discussed like 8 issues in the field with the whole group, and one sent a letter back from that, and we responded this week with the answered questions, going down
And I
through.
sent them to all the vendors that were
That
there.
way they're all on the same page and everything's answered and they're all aware of the same thing. So, that went very well, and I was glad to see we had some good companies come out. So, I was also calling, several times this week, MPC Construction. Remember I'd asked last year to see if we could try and get them for the front steps. I finally got them to come out today, and, the guy met with me, and I have some real good news. That company has a demolition group that works right with them, and they'll be able to demolish or take off that first layer of the pour there on the entire thing. And we talked about the rounded roofs out there, and instead of trying to support those roofs and pull the cement out from underneath, cause we're not sure how the columns are attached,
Right.
they're gonna cut around those columns that are there, so everything can be removed around them, and then they're gonna drill and pin back into them. Because those columns are in perfect placement, there's none of them that are unlevel or cracked around the
Probably
columns.
a base on them, yeah.
Yeah, the base is real good there.
Yeah.
He said re-pouring the front arch steps is no problem, and, he's gonna do a 6-inch pour right in front of that other one, pinning it to the old one, so the face is not all cracked looking.
Okay, yeah.
And he's gonna pitch it away from the building so that water's not puddling there and getting in the, basement any longer. So we went through all of those, he's gonna send us a bid. But this is a company that does large jobs, they have, they'll probably bring 8, 10, 12 people. He's actually looked at our lawn here and said that after they crush that up, cut it and crush it up, they're gonna hand carry it off the lawn. So that just should show you the type of company it is. He's gonna put plywood down and boards if he pours it, so they can shoot it with a pump system.
Yeah, they pump it in.
So he'll back in on that far side where there's nothing there, as far as they can, they'll pump the rest in. He was actually talking about pumping it up over the building so that he didn't have to do the lawn at all. And I'm like, no, I think we could put some plywood down and do it, so.
That's our golf course lawn.
So knock on wood, we should have an estimate of a company that can do the whole thing,
Yeah.
that's covered and insured to do it the right way.
Good.
So I was real happy to see that, we don't have to hire 2 companies
Right.
and guess who's gonna do what. And he ever told me that he said, I can either bring equipment here. He says, I'm not a landscaper, then you can pay a landscaper, or he says, like, you pay me a little more, my guys will hand carry the stuff out. I said, you got it, if you got guys that will hand carry that stuff into a dumpster, go for it, so.
While we're on that subject.
Yep.
Nora asked if you had had a chance to look at the roofs.
No,
Of
I
the
didn't,
porta
but
potty.
I will try and do that tomorrow.
Okay.
Let me put a note down to that. I did look up there today and think of it, but I didn't go up there. Speaking of hours at the library, when we had that, town hall restoration committee meeting, we had one of the trustees there and we had, Mary there. And, she was a little confused. I told her, I said, I don't wanna get to the 11th hour and not have you know that when we have a large meeting at the select board meeting, and we're gonna have an overrun of people, part of having that building available to us on the second floor, we'll be having overrun meetings, like it's planning board, zoning, and or our select board meetings, like when we had the people concerned about the cutting of the trees down here and we filled the room up. And I said, we don't have a lot of advance, but I wanna make sure you know on Thursday nights, there's a chance she's open till 8. She hasn't been in a year, but she will be next year. She's open till 8 on Thursday nights, I said, you can stay open, but we may be up there, or you could close down at 7 on Thursday nights, and she didn't wanna reduce any hours, so. And I told her, so you could either come and use this room, or you could stay there open, but I just wanna make sure you know, I don't wanna tell them a year from now, hey, we're gonna use it on Thursday nights, cause you can't start these meetings at 8 o'clock, so. When they went back, the trustee talked to her, cause she was uncertain on how that went, and she actually apologized, said, I didn't realize I could continue to stay here. She thought she had to vacate the library, I said, no, that's not the case.
No, I think it's our meetings are not really loud.
No. So that was good to hear, so we're working with them on that. The other thought I had that brought up Mike earlier from when you were here, in walking the guys through that library, I noticed down in the basement, a lot of additional stuff got put from the library down there again. I noticed that we have some stuff from you up there
Yeah,
on the second floor.
second and basement, both.
And basement, but there's stuff up there that's, got some town use, some town functions. But I know that if we do the sprinkler system here, after we open up those bids and decide on that, half that basement will be full of those.
Those
Containers.
cisterns, yeah.
And then Mary was talking about possibly having some storage room in this area, that area, that she's not really gonna have any more additional room, I don't think. My thought was, and we'll follow up with the board, it doesn't have to be done right now, but we should probably think about one more weatherized container like we have for the voting. I didn't really wanna mix it with all the voting stuff because you'd have stuff back in front of each other. But I thought one to be able to be used for the library and or some of the, functions that Dawn is actually on, where they're storing stuff that is used for the town. But we're not gonna really have room in that building eventually. So I just wanted to put that out and kinda think about it, see if you guys have any different ideas, but.
We gotta get the building fixed up first.
Right, no, and I know it's down the road, I just wanted to put that out there, cause we do need some storage, and I just don't know where it can be.
Well, for example, we moved the, about a year and a half ago, Bob and I, worked with the town clerk, we moved the stuff from the musty basement to the upstairs, so it was a little bit drier. And, but so that, we opened up there's still a significant amount of room in the basement. And, I don't think I think there'll still be storage room down there, with the ladder, you might say, for the
Yeah.
water.
It is gonna be, it is kind of a, it's not as dry, I'm not sure what you have down there now,
Yeah,
but.
it's not conducive to storage or anything where moisture can.
No, I've just got, banners, I've got, stuff from Reach Across Dunbarton, as far as the markers and things along this line, the tripods, metal and that, and, most of it is in plastic tubs.
Okay.
And, upstairs, of course, are the flags and everything from, the, Arts on the Common,
Oh, is that what those are from?
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of, upright flaggage there, it's not a flag like he's talking
Yeah,
about,
it's a
but
pole with,
ribbon wrapped on it or something.
ribbons on it, but,
I know that even if we do the contract, that stuff will have to get out of there just so the guys can work
Well,
properly.
you got some room, in some of the rooms there on each end, you get a whole lot of stuff from way back.
Right,
That's a dust collector.
Yeah, I think a good clean would be, I'd be surprised at how much room we could
I
create
think
just
we've
by
already
good
done
cleaning.
that once, we
One
did a
time, yeah,
dumpster.
but it's been at least 3-4 years
No,
since we've been.
didn't you just
no,
do
the
it
No,
this
ladies,
year?
they
they're,
went up-
they're showing people upstairs and that, 3 or 4 at a time and that, but they've they've cleaned the floors, they've, cleaned up all the dirt and everything.
But a lot of times, stuff is just, shall I say relocated?
Right.
Yeah,
So there's two rooms there, where we put those shelves
Yeah.
that we had gotten for all of the voting stuff,
Town
and everything,
record, yeah.
is, I don't know what kind, it's a TV that someone made for some kind of
Yeah,
visual thing at the
yeah,
school.
there is some
or
stuff that can still,
There's a ton of, there's still a lot of stuff upstairs
To
that
get rid of?
they could,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
they'd make a lot of room and.
Yeah.
you know, maybe we'll do that, this winter sometime, try and get that going, but I know that,
We could start with a bonfire.
there is gonna be some additional storage needed, cause I know that stuff that,
Yeah, I would entertain a Conex only after we've looked at
Yes.
the true storage situation, the situation.
I just think that the basement storage is damp at best, so,
I don't think the basement, I agree with you, unless it's a non-camp rot with
Right.
or rust, it's a bad area.
right.
But the tubs, again, that's a good thing.
And I think, if I'm
well, you
not
have to keep it
mistaken, the area,
corralled.
the area you guys did, that's a locked area, right, so nobody can take stuff in.
Yes.
Yes.
So, I think there's some room in there, but it's a locked area as well, you know, so I would say maybe only Mary could put stuff in there if possible, but I just wanna keep that eye open on that, cause we have no spot to put anything. No good basements. So even if she has a few shelves and stuff she's not using now, doesn't wanna throw them out in case she wants to use them in the future, there's no place to put anything.
What is the chances of, building a couple more of the sheds like we have down in the lower parking lot at the school?
No chance. Those sheds were built, and instead of cleaning out some of them, you could go look at those, there's a ton of area in there. Those get pushed off and people put stuff in them that's never being opened, never being used. And I actually donated material for one of those sheds and it's full of junk. And so I think that to continue donating those sheds down there and then having people build them. When you look at those sheds, the minimal material was back then was about $1,200. And then when you add the vinyl side to it, it's probably 16 or 18, they're probably minimum $3-4 grand now
Yeah.
for the shed, and that's without any labor to build it, cause people did them for free, Mike Poirier did the one I donated. But those Conex we just bought were $4,000, they're 20 feet long, 8 feet high, 8 feet wide, and you can put a lot of stuff in there, and it's lockable and sealed,
And less maintenance.
no
Now, where do
mice.
you have
Yeah.
those?
No mice.
We put one for the voting stuff only at the, transfer station. But we not only have the transfer station, we've got the highway department right down here too, so. There's, town areas we can put them where stuff can be stored safely and dry. Without it being down in the basement, so.
Yeah.
Every time I go through that building and I see stuff cluttered everywhere, like you guys say, it's becoming a hiding spot.
Well, I know, you know, we keep the town tents in the recreation tent, and that's staying pretty clear, you know, they put the scoreboard from the ball field in there, but,
But like if we had one of those, you could put that stuff, instead of trying to find a space in that building, you could put it in that trailer.
right. Well, I'm just looking, you know, I know that we're gonna have to move the stuff out of the town hall, and I was just wondering, you know, what are our choices, or is there some place that we can build a shed or something like that?
To be honest with you, I think, I'm looking at this building, you know, the town's gotta start, we gotta start putting, looking down the road in the future. We gotta start looking at maybe a new town hall, maybe, a new meeting space with
Yeah.
storage capability. I think we can't be closed-minded here, we gotta be looking maybe 5-10 years down the road and start planning for.
50.
No, not that one, I think,
I was gonna say, the most reasonable would at least have a new town administrative building where you're going for the planning board, or the town clerk, or the town administrator.
Once I'm done paying taxes, we can do that.
no, but those, that's the vision we have to have, and, we can't be looking, you know, we look short-term, yeah, we can throw a Conex here, Conex there, but the town's growing, just look at the golf course. And we have new houses coming in, we gotta be looking just a little bit further ahead and planning down the road, because the population's not going down in this town.
No.
So anyway, to answer your question about putting another shed, the nice thing about those storage containers is they're movable and they're resaleable, because nothing really happens to them. The doors are weather stripped, so mice don't get in anything, so it's a real good short term.
I think what he's asking is what do we do in the meantime until we come up with a plan? We did at one point, for the needs of a former resident, rent a container that was helped that individual. I know, I'm sure a lot of us.
Well, I know that that size container's $75 a month,
That's correct, yep.
so we could rent it, but if
You buy
that
it.
storage container's not gonna go away, so we may as well just buy it like we did there, we made the choice and we bid that.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm gonna lean towards, only cause, you know, not many months, a year's time, and we're gonna have it
yeah,
paid for.
but when this project comes through, that stuff has to come out of there,
Yeah,
and that's in 2 months. That's less
right,
than
so
2
I wanted to bring it up now, just so we could think about it, but in a month or two, like Lean's saying, we're gonna have to make a decision, and,
Well, the thing is, even in in the upstairs, the main hall room of the upstairs, you put everything in the center of it, because all they're doing is working around it to put the sprinklers in.
yeah, but they're gonna work in rows, actually,
Yeah.
spacing it, so.
Would there be an opportunity to get another one of the containers and put down at the, transfer station that could be shared by the different, you know, the
Well, just the
restoration
library
group,
and
police
you,
across
yeah.
Dunbarton, flags across Dunbarton, you know, to store our stuff, that would be a shared, community deal.
I'd like to maybe put that as a potential budget item, we can look at that when it comes to budget
Well,
season.
like Lean said, we may need it before budget, but let's just keep it open in the air and keep it. And, the company we got that one from,
Mhm.
can you see if they're still around that price? No hurry, in a
And
couple
if they
weeks.
have inventory available.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
true,
That was a big issue with the last one we got.
That's what I was gonna say.
yeah.
Look into it.
So look into it a little bit, and that way we'll have, maybe an avenue to go, but,
The next couple meetings, we can talk about it.
yeah.
And you're probably a mute point about solving a problem quickly, cause if there's waiting time, I mean, I've been waiting 3-4 months now for a refrigerator.
Right,
So,
Yeah.
you know, you might wanna have it today, but it's not gonna be there today, you're gonna have to live with finding a solution
I'll try
to
to
get around,
an answer for
you
the
know,
next meeting.
whether putting sprinklers or whatever,
yeah.
until you get that done, cause
I just wanna have some,
there's no quick
some
solve.
thought process down the road, cause walking around that building, I could see we're gonna have to move some stuff, yeah. Some is gonna go to the trash too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I cleaned that out 2 or 3 years ago and it took all day. We brought a lot of stuff to the dump. Of course, we had to save a lot, cause people wanna keep everything, you know.
Right.
But anyways, you might wanna also, you mentioned it, is look in at the DPW and see if there's a nice logical space there, because that's closer to this building,
Yeah,
rather than
I'm
going all the way
thinking,
down to the
I'm
transfer.
thinking we may do that too, I just thought about that tonight, and, but Jeff's space is somewhat limited there too.
Yeah, right, that's why I said you might wanna look ahead to see if there's a space here, you know?
Yeah, I'll talk with Jeff about that.
That way, all your eggs will be set up, ready to go if something needs to be done, you know?
So those are my only, things I need to talk about, along with the sprinkler system, if we decide to do that. There'll have to be power brought from the panel to the pump. And then, the alarm company we use over there will have to hook into the sprinkler system. That part is in the bid is all on us, you know, so whatever the electrical work is there, and then the, hooking into the alarm system.
Right.
So, that's all I have this week.
What's the size of the container?
It's, the one we have down there now is 20 feet long, and I think they're about 8 feet tall and 8 feet wide.
Pretty roomy.
Yeah, and, the stuff we have in there for the voting doesn't take up the entire container, but we gotta make sure that we don't have too many entities in one,
Yeah, then you break things.
yeah, so,
They have flat floors?
they do.
Yep.
It's steel sides, and then they're rugged, the doors are all weather stripped, they have double handles on them. No, they're,
I'll tell you, I used
Road
2 of
proof.
them for my stock, and everything was in mint condition when I took it out, I was so pleased.
Yeah.
I had heard nightmares that
Oh,
rodents get in, but my stuff was kept really nice.
and so I think, you know, with what a shed would cost,
Yeah.
and the maintenance on those sheds are almost time to be, something's gonna be done with them.
All the time, yeah.
And how much did you pay for that one?
Last year was
$4,000.
$4,050 or something.
Why, did you wanna do a fundraiser?
Seriously, I definitely, would, spend the money, because I've gotta store a bunch of stuff.
Right.
and, I can sublet it, and,
Let's,
But
let's
then you can
figure out-
put it at your house, Don.
Well, we'll write that off on the lease,
yeah.
for where you put your container.
There you go, 99 yearly.
For the next meeting, I'll try and meet with Jeff and, Woody and see where's the best spot to stick it.
That sounds great.
When we take the flags down, later this month, I've got a 2x4 holder that holds all the flags and everything, and they'll be covered. Can we store them with the election equipment down there to keep them
Yeah.
dry and safe?
That's something that I would agree to, cause that's a nice, safe, dry item that can be put in there with that.
And it's got it
Okay.
on wheels, right? You created
Yeah, it's
a
on
cart-
wheels,
A cart just to move it.
easy to move, so,
That was my question earlier before you came in.
yeah,
Where was the stuff gonna be stored?
yeah,
So I was concerned about that.
yeah.
Lean, can we get a lock for that too?
I thought we already,
We didn't do it, we talked about it, but we didn't do it.
alright.
I asked Woody, I said, I've been waiting to meet you down here so I could get the key. He says, what do you need a key for? It's not locked. I said, we talked about it, but,
Mean, the voting machines are unsecured?
yeah, our big voting machines, our aluminum boxes.
All those boxes and pencils.
All the pencils.
All
It could
the
be
boxes
tampered
and
with.
pencils.
Okay, that's on the action list, got it.
Then I think is, can we make a motion to adjourn?
Yes, at
Second.
8:12. Motion been made, second, all in favor?
Aye.